Yes, bundle 3. You'll see that on the 25th of March, Sergeant Nkosi sent you that document that you describe as a draft report of the BEC on this tender.
Yes.
It was a big day, the 25th of March. Sergeant Nkosi, you and the General were going to meet together. Sergeant Nkosi sent you this document. He then later sent you the document with the mandate that Victor had from NICO, and he also sent you his list of 7 bidders in priority for the land tender, all on the same day. You recall that?
I can see that.
Let's get back to this document. Is there any legitimate basis on which Sergeant Nkosi should have access to this document?
This is a TMPD, no. Permission to expand?
Go ahead.
I'll be very quick. The TMPD report for 03 draft admin report, it makes reference to the closing register items. So on this, when I evaluated this document, there was nothing sensitive that had been done. But my answer is yes. There was no need for him to get this. He could have just got the closing register, which would have been published. It was there on the website. That would have been the best document to get.
Yes, but he didn't get that document. He got this document, which was a draft prepared by someone inside the BEC process.
I can't confirm that. I don't know where he got this document.
Well, it was a draft prepared by someone inside the BEC process was the proposition I was putting to you. A draft administrative report on TMPD 3 could only emerge from someone inside the BEC process. Is that not correct?
It's a proposition, SC, so I'm not going to disagree with you, but I don't know where this could have come from.
Who else would be preparing draft administrative reports in relation to TMPD 3?
SC, I don't know. I can't give an answer to that right now.
The only body that could produce draft administrative reports in relation to TMPD 3 at this stage was the BEC, surely.
Okay.
Does the okay mean I agree?
Commissioner, I don't agree. My answer is I don't know, but I'm accepting the proposition that the senior counsel is bringing on board. I just don't want to speculate.
Which other body could have produced this report other than the BEC? Which other body? Certainly could not have been the BAC.
No, it's not the BAC.
So which other body other than the BEC?
I don't have the full report. I can't see the contents of it. So it's very difficult for me to give a conclusive answer and bind someone at this stage.
Can I ask you to look at page 175 where we get past the list?
Yes.
(2.1) Late bids received, if applicable. No late bids received. 3, pre-compliance. The following 435 bidders were evaluated on pre-compliance. So some evaluation has already taken place. Who does the evaluation on pre-compliance?
It's blank. This means no evaluation has taken place.
It says, well, it is blank at this stage, but it says the following 435 bidders were evaluated on pre-compliance.
So it's a shell. That's what they would have needed to complete once evaluation commences. If it's blank, it means the process had not started.
And it's a shell for whom?
Like I said, I don't know for whom, but I'm accepting the proposition that it could be from BEC.
The proposition wasn't that it could be.
Ordinarily, Mr. Mnisi, who within Tswane would use this blank? Ordinarily. And please don't be cagey. Ordinarily, who would use this blank?
This blank would be used by members of BEC.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Shaskell.
Anybody else?
It's incomplete. I don't know. I can't say. But it looks like it could be used by that SC. Anybody else, I don't know.
Well, it's not entirely incomplete, because if we see the list contains 435 bidders, and pre-compliance, the item 3 refers to 435 bidders. So someone has taken a template and done some change to it in relation to this bid. You see that?
They've loaded the closing register, the contents of the closing register.
Yes, they've loaded the contents of the closing register and they put it onto a template, which I am assuming is a template used by the BEC.
Yes.
Right. So let's get back to lock and key. Despite lock and key, a document, a template that is used by the BEC has made its way to Sergeant Nkosi. Should that be possible?
And these are the reasons. It shouldn't be possible. The answer is no. But these are the reasons why this tender was cancelled.
This is not the reason why this tender was cancelled. Nowhere in any of the reports does it say Sergeant Nkosi received a template from the BEC, the process was compromised.
I was saying that the test of safety and ensuring that documents were safeguarded was one of the reasons why this tender was cancelled. Not specifically that Sergeant Nkosi, but the test for documents being kept safely was one of the reasons that were identified.
That's the 25th of March. You now know that a template used by the BEC in relation to this tender has been sent to Sergeant Nkosi. That's going to taint the process of this tender, is it not?
No.
So then it's not a reason why the tender was cancelled.
The documents that were lost was the reason. We just agreed, SC, that this was not the reason that Sergeant Nkosi received it. We agreed on that.
Yes, it should have been, but it wasn't.
Yes.
But you knew from the 25th of March that this was happening and that this, objectively viewed, would taint the regularity of this tender.
I had received this. From my evaluation of the document, it contained information of the closing register, which was published. There was no additional sensitive information that was brought on board through evaluating, assessing this document that I had received.
But you knew that the obvious inference to draw from the fact that Sergeant Nkosi sent you this document is that he had someone inside the BEC who was giving him documents.
I didn't know. I don't know where that comes from. So I did not know where he received this.
The obvious inference to be drawn from this was that Sergeant Nkosi had someone inside the BEC who was giving him documents. Is that, do you take issue with that?
I do take. That's not true.
Well, what other inference could you draw?
Of where he received this. And the truth of...
From what other source could Sergeant Nkosi possibly have received this document? Bear in mind that you have said, ordinarily, this is a document used by the BEC. So other than the BEC, what would his source have been, ordinarily, other than the BEC?
Yes, Commissioner. That information is known. He received this from the General. He did not receive it from anyone in the BEC.
And where would the General have
The
received
General
it?
was he not a member of the BEC?
No, he was not a member of the BEC.
Well, where would the General have received it?
I don't know where he would have received, but he would have received it internally. He would have received it somewhere internally.
Presumably from someone inside the BEC.
Presumably, yes.
Yes.
But
So Sergeant Nkosi had an indirect route into the BEC through the General. You didn't know it at the time, but directly or indirectly, Sergeant Nkosi must have had a route to the BEC to get into the BEC to get this document.
Well, I'm not sure, and I can't comment on that. I've got no comment on that.
Mr. Mnisi, was this a publicly available document?
The document in its form, no.
Yes. So he didn't get it properly. It wasn't shared with him in a permissible way, in a regular way. Surely you must accept that.
I've
We shouldn't
accepted
spend
that,
another
Commissioner, and I've
3
agreed
minutes
to
on
that.
it. Yes,
So
that's
that-
a simple proposition that's been
Yes.
made to you, that
Yes.
Sergeant Nkosi had possession to a tender-related document that he should not have had. That's a simple proposition that's being made. You must accept that.
Commissioner, I've accepted that.
Okay,
But if you
thank
had
you.
listened to the discussions, the inference was that Sergeant Nkosi received it from BEC directly. So,
I'm reformulating. Sergeant Nkosi had access to a tender-related document that should not have been in his possession. You accept that?
I have accepted that.
And that suggests, or at least on the face of it, is a corruption already of the tender process. It is being muddied. Do you accept that? That
No.
a tender document that is internal of an incomplete tender assessment process is sitting with a member of the public, because that's what he is. It's sitting with a member of a public. That is problematic for that tender process. No?
Commissioner, I don't accept that, with all due respect.
Okay,
The contents
explain.
of this report that's here does not contain any sensitive information
No, it
whatsoever.
doesn't matter. No, from my question, it doesn't matter whether it contains sensitive information or not. It's a tender document or tender-related document. As a matter of policy, it should not be outside.
I've agreed to that,
of,
yes.
of the municipality. That it is outside of the municipality with a member of the public in itself is an irregularity. You must be able to accept
I've
that.
agreed to that.
Thank you. That's all I'm checking with you. Thank you.
But you didn't take any steps upon being made aware of this irregularity, did you?
Indeed, again, I assessed the content of the document. The document, from my perspective, did not need me to take any further steps. This was information that was already available to the public upon my receiving of this document. Did not contain anything sensitive or confidential. There was nothing for me to raise.
But there was something for you to raise. It was that a document internal to the city relating to this tender process had made its way to Sergeant Nkosi.
From my perspective, all I'll need to do is safeguard the procurement process, as I previously stated. In this instance, I assessed the document that was received. It did not contain any sensitive information in terms of the evaluation process in its entirety. Hence, I felt there's no need for me to escalate this any further. I don't have any conclusive evidence on any leak at this stage in time. But I do agree, this is a leaked draft administrative report. It doesn't contain anything sensitive or confidential. I had nothing to report.
Did the probity report pick up that this document had made its way to Sergeant Nkosi?
I'm not certain if those are one of the reasons that were provided.
Well, if we go to the document, I think you'll accept that it didn't.
It did not specifically say Sergeant Nkosi received this, no.
It didn't specifically speak of leaking of any documents to members of the public, did it?
Nope.
So the probity report was unable to pick up the leak of members of the of this document to members of the public.
No, it was unable to. It didn't focus on that.
So the probity report didn't have mechanisms that enabled it to identify potential leaks of information.
This was a closing register, firstly. There's no sensitive information that's contained in this. And as far as I'm concerned, there are sufficient processes that are designed by the probity teams to test any potential leaks within the system.
But they didn't pick up this one. They didn't pick up this one.
As far as I'm concerned, the process and systems are there.
As a legal team, we want to address you very briefly on the following. And what we say with the utmost respect to yourselves, to my learned friend, and to the work that you do. We believe that to put to the witness that he's wasting time of the commission by the manner in which he answers is unfair to the witness. And to edit his responses is equally unfair at the end of the day. Of course, you're entitled to agree as commissioner or disagree with what he says, and that is accepted. I think Chairperson or Chairperson Baloyi, you indicated that the only person of the BAC that's here today that can comment on the workings of the BAC is the witness. And yet, we see that he's not given, in our respectful opinion, proper time to answer and explain what actually happened during the deliberation to come to this decision. None of us were there. The only person you are correct, that were there, that can enlighten us on the process and the reasoning and what transpired is indeed the witness. And we respectfully request that he be given an opportunity to explain why he answers in the way, or to allow him to answer the questions in the manner that he believes is a way in which he can convey to the Commission what transpired. Thank you very much.
Can you please, Ms. Heever, substantiate the point that says Mr. Mnisi's responses should not be edited? I didn't quite...
Edited in the sense that he's cut off. He starts to provide an answer and then he's cut off. Very often, again, with great self-respect, Commissioners, we were all in practice, or some of us are still some were. It's very difficult when one tries to convey something and when one's cut off. Sometimes it influences your thought process. It makes you lose your trail of thought. And that's something I think one should be mindful of when it happens. So again, what we place on record with the greatest of respect and to yourselves and to the work that's been done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van den Heever. I will not invite a response from you, Mr. Chaskalson, because this is directed at us. Your first point is that it's unfair to say that Mr. Mnisi is wasting time. I think there's a nuance on that. I did not put it like that. It was in the context of Mr. Mnisi wanting to explain. And I immediately said, before anything else I said, I immediately said, Mr. Mnisi, I am going to allow you to explain. But let me make this comment. I said, in basically all your responses, you explain. And you do that even in instances that patently or objectively show that there is no need for an explanation. I'm retired now, but I was a practitioner for a number of years. And I will tell you this, as a practitioner, unfortunately as a judge, for the better part of my life as a judge, I sat at an appellate court, so I did not again experience issues of questions, responses, and proper responses, improper responses. But I did practice for a number of years, and I will tell you this, and I would be surprised if you will not agree with me, that there are questions that do not require explanations. I would be surprised if you disagree. And with those questions, explanations do not then become necessary purely because a witness thinks that they must explain. If objectively the question does not require an explanation, it doesn't. And the answer to that cannot depend on what a witness thinks or how a witness feels. And then my mention of time was in that context. The context that it cannot be that all the time you must explain. So all I did in that context, and having said, short of the bit about experience and practice and so on, having explained to Mr. Mnisi that it cannot be that you must explain all your answers. It was in that context that I then made the point, we have limited time. When I started, I referred to a nuance. It may be a distinction that lacks a difference, but I think I did not quite say you are wasting our time. So it was in the context of what I've just explained that I then said, we have limited time. And I will say this, I am not going to I understand where you are coming from, but I will never agree that Mr. Mnisi will be given a free hand to explain even where that is not necessary. But I agree, and I will be the first person that allows him to explain when that is necessary. And most times, in fact, because he has been explaining since the probing questioning started, he has been explaining basically on each and every response. And we were patient with it. But at some point, or rather, we must reach a point at which we say to him, Mr. Mnisi, you cannot explain each and every response you give. And I do not think there's anything wrong with that. If you say there is, as I said earlier on, I would be surprised. Let me move on to your point about editing responses, which you explained by saying that we should not cut off Mr. Mnisi. There again, I think much leeway has been given to Mr. Mnisi. But there are times when you will ask a question, and from the moment he opens his mouth, you see that the response he's beginning to give has nothing at all to do with the question that's being asked. So must we listen, keep quiet, whilst Mr. Mnisi is going on and on and on about a response that has nothing to do with the question? But there again, as I say, we have given Mr. Mnisi leeway. And I doubt that we've given any other witness as much leeway as we have given Mr. Mnisi. Lastly, you say that he is not given, or rather he was not given sufficient time to explain what transpired at the adjudication process. And I did not finish my note here, but I think you were saying that you are asking that consideration be given to all of the issues that you have asked. There again, to the extent that perhaps you felt that he was not given sufficient opportunity, from where I'm sitting, he gave lots and lots of responses with regard to this subject, going on to even say that there were additional reasons that informed the resolution that was made in the end, and a whole lot of other substantiation. I am not sure that he was shortchanged on that. But, and more importantly, I think, to the extent that you feel that he was shortchanged, you have a right to re-examine and traverse whatever ground you feel ought to have been traversed, insofar as he may have been shortchanged.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van Heever.